Hey friends, it is Friday, June 10th, and I am out in the garden. Just wanted to do a garden update and a planting update for where we are this late in the year for our 2022 garden. And I have been starting some seeds and other stuff, so I'll just go ahead and get into it so we can see what's going on in the garden on June 10th. Okay, so right here is some seeds that I've been starting for summer, late summer and fall crops. These are so those big huge poblano peppers that I got from the farmer's market. I took a bunch of the seeds and I just dumped them into this 6 cell right here, and they've started to come up. So I imagine that I will get lots and lots and lots of poblano peppers from those seeds. And those are one of my favorite kinds of peppers, so I'm really excited to get those started. And to me right now, I don't feel like I have enough peppers going, even though I'm getting a lot. And I got a good variety of the mild and sweet peppers this year that I can use in all my dishes instead of mostly hot peppers like it normally is. So over here I started some serrano from some seeds that I had bought. I believe these are like some 25-cent Dollar Tree seeds, and then I have just a stray zinnia that popped up there. And sometimes pepper seeds take a long time. I planted these like at least 2 weeks or more ago, and the peppers are just now coming up. And then there's some bell peppers. Those might be mini bell peppers. And then the banana peppers, they're being even more slow. These are from seed packets. And these banana peppers are just now starting to come up. And then I did plant some Chinese string eggplant. I don't know if that is an eggplant right there. I don't think it is, but that's the last of my Chinese string eggplant seeds, and those are my favorite eggplants to grow. I don't have any eggplants started in the garden. I was going to start them last, and then I got behind on everything, so I don't have any eggplant right now, where normally I've already been harvesting this point in the year. So hopefully we can get some more of those started. Might have to order some fresh seed from Baker Creek. That's where I get that variety from. And Baker Creek is rareseeds.com, and they have free shipping. Sometimes this time of year it does take a while to get the seeds though, with so many orders. And then here I planted some green zucchini, which none of them have come up. And then I planted some zinnias, semi-dwarf zinnias, which these are ready to go in the ground, and I can plant some more. And then all of these are ones I just planted a few days ago. I don't remember what I planted in this thing here. It has a tag on it, but it's not a tag that I wrote anything on for this particular pot, so I'm not sure what I planted in there, but nothing has come up, so I might plant something different. And then I planted some Creole onions and some Cinderella pumpkins here and here, and then here as well. And then right here I planted some of the culinary blend pelleted basil seeds. And then from the couple of grapefruits that I purchased from the grocery store the other day, I finally ate one of those grapefruits, and that whole grapefruit, there was only one seed, and I planted it because me and my daughter have been having good luck growing. We've got a couple lemon trees that I started, and she started an orange tree from seed. So that is that. And then over here, we got to talk about this. So the other day I was planting winter squash in the garden and some more cucumbers and summer squash, and I had brought this container. I had pulled out several seed packets that I had, not my whole bucket of carbitas that I have that I keep all my seeds in, but I just pulled several as you can see out of that, and several more that are not pictured here. But anyways, I planted those out, and then after I planted them, I set the stuff down and started working on all kind of other projects, weeding and everything in the garden. And then it started raining on me, so I got out of the garden and I forgot my seed bucket. So this seed bucket had all kinds of cucumbers. And this is a spring burpless cucumber, Armenian cucumbers, some tasty green cucumbers, and then it had all kinds of summer squash, spineless beauty. There was some 2 gray zucchinis, some of these old Tatum squash that I've had for a few years that haven't been germinating. I had some partial eclipse, so there's a seed right there I can plant. Partial eclipse squash, this Algonquin, I can't remember how to pronounce Algonquin squash from House Tools. I planted that I think last year I got those seeds in fall or summer, and I've never got any of those to grow. They also had the Sucrine dewberry, the Illinois squash, and some butternut squash, cantaloupes, some early straight neck, and some spineless beauty, which I still have some seeds in here to plant. And so I planted I didn't have much of these red creoles, so I planted these over here along with the pumpkins. But I went out in the garden and I had a lot of planting to do, so I planted a bunch of these and a bunch of all of these different cucumbers that I just showed you, and some of the big orange curry squash that I had saved seeds from, one from Whole Foods and just a bunch of different spaghetti squash and all kinds of stuff, because I didn't want to waste the seed. So we ended up planting way more winter squash, summer squash, and cucumbers than we anticipated, because of that mistake there. So if that turns into food, then good. You know, some of those seeds were a little bit old like these, and they weren't coming up, and they hadn't been working for me anyways. So, you know, we went ahead and just planted everything, and hopefully that'll turn into food instead of wasted seed. So also I had this bag of cream 40 peas that I have got for standard feed, either last summer or last spring, and so I planted those out as well. So let's go ahead and go to the garden and see what we've got going on from the last time that we planted together. And since I have planted these seeds, we've been getting rain every evening. And I want to show you something exciting right here it's morning time. The sun comes up in the east over there in the front of my house. It's really bright. So back in, I believe it was November or December, I had ordered some shampoo ginger rhizomes from Etsy, and when they came in the mail, it was around the time that it was my son's birthday and Christmas, about mid-December, and I had a lot of people over, and when they came in the mail, my sisters and my mom and everyone were here, so I went ahead and just put the box in my pantry and to plant, you know, when they were gone, after they left. And then I lost track. I guess I put them out of sight, and I could not remember where I put them. So like a month later, I found my box of shampoo ginger, and there was like 5 or 6 in here in the box, and I was worried that they were not going to be viable, but they still looked like there might be a chance. They still had a little bit of moisture left in them. So I went ahead and planted them in this box, or in this bucket here, in December, and then I planted some of this bee balm with it, and of course some of my sparkler petunias that I grew from seed. And I just noticed that a couple of days ago they had started coming up. My ginger was coming up. So I've never grown shampoo ginger. I haven't grown a lot of ginger, but I really wanted to have some of this shampoo ginger, just for using, you know, for shampoo purposes, soap purposes. So it looks like I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there's 5 or 6 little shampoo ginger stalks in there. So I'm really super excited that I don't have to buy those again. And I will maybe get ginger. I don't know if I'll get it this year or next year. I'll have to go back and read again. But we got that going on. And our rosemary and everything's looking good. But I wanted to show you my lemon. My Meyer lemon is putting on lemons right now. Got a bunch of them on there. So I do believe that this is this one right here has a Meyer lemon and a key lime. So that's the key lime, apparently. Well, let's see. I guess they're grafted together here. This one says Meyer lemon and that one says key lime. So I guess these two are grafted together. So I'm not sure if these are key limes or if they're lemons. We'll have to see how big they get, because the Meyer lemons on here gets pretty big. But I've only had this tree about 1.5 years, or this grafted tree. Basically, when I got it, it was 2 trees together. And at the time I could have separated them, and there is a separate little plant growing in here that was separate from these. But I decided to go ahead and keep them together. But pretty much I could have got just a lime or just a lemon by themselves for the same price that I got both of these that were together. Even though I've got key lime tree, which I think my key lime tree is actually the one out in the garden, it might have got killed back with the freeze. I haven't seen it start coming back yet. So that might be my only key limes. But I do have another Meyer lemon, which is this tree here. My husband got for me for Mother's Day or my birthday or something 1 year or 2 ago. And it is such a host plant for caterpillars that it gets eat a lot. But it's more groomed for the tree style, whereas that one's more like a bushy style. I haven't trained it. And then my other citrus that I have over here is my Persian lime, which it has some baby limes all over it. So it's doing good. I've been fertilizing it with that Bloom Booster liquid fertilizer. It's organic, but look at this lily. So remember back in February and March, I planted a bunch of oriental lilies and different kinds of lilies, bulbs, and finally started blooming. I missed out on some of them, but there's some of the oriental lilies. They smell so good. There's some more that's about to bloom right there. And I believe this is my spider lily. So I've been waiting for a long time for it to bloom. I had a couple of them when they came back from last year. And then I got some salvia. I still haven't deadheaded this rose yet. But my green beans, my rattlesnake pole beans, and my Kentucky Wonders, they've been doing good. Been having to pick these about every other day. Those are the rattlesnake pole beans. They're not really marked up that much with the purple because they're still pretty young, but I like picking them like that because they pretty much don't have any strings, these rattlesnakes, unless you get them when they're overdone. These are Kentucky Wonders. You can tell by they're kind of flat and green. And of course we had some more rain last night, and I haven't picked these in a couple of days, but I'm averaging probably, I'd say, about 4 quarts a week on these beans here. And I just gather them up until I get enough to, or I get a canner going and add them to it. Because I I don't know if I'll get, you know, I don't think I'll get a whole canner load at one go. Maybe after a few days. Alright, so my white climbing rose has been climbing, but he hasn't put on any buds yet. My neighbor's getting her yard mowed, so that's pretty untimely. These planters, I still got a few snapdragons that are holding on in the shade. I'll kind of give you a look at what's going on over here. You got to cut back all these, deadhead these cannas. And then I got a bunch of those big yellow marigolds. My yellow cannas are blooming. And I think this might be, where's he at? Right there. I think that might be a bad bug. So anyway, there's some more cannas. My caladiums. And I've got that white little fence in the front of my garden fence because all these little rogue bannies that we hatched out in the spring, they find their ways out of the pen because they're so small, and they just scavenge around. Got a lot of volunteer coleus, and there's even a volunteer cranberry hibiscus right there. A couple of years I grew bunches and bunches of cranberry hibiscus that I started from seed, and they've been coming back every once in a while. So let's move my little, this probably ain't deterring them too much, but I'm trying to keep them out of my garden because I can't keep them in there in the big chicken run. Of course, we got lawnmowers and trains and everything else going. So here, in this section right here is where we planted the winter squash first. And there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, about 9 or 10 that came up right here of winter squash. And these are Illinois squash, some pumpkins, some butternut squash. And then when we got our seeds wet the other day, we went ahead and filled up these beds. So this bed, this section, this section, this section is winter squash. And then that tire down there is cucumbers. So, I see a morning glory. I see a squash plant trying to come up right there. I don't see any in this tire. I see 1, 2 squash plants coming up in here, and I don't see, oh, I see one right there, that section. And in this tire we planted a bunch of seeds, and just topped this tire off with some black velvet and some I don't even know which organic fertilizer that I got this time. I don't know if it's Dr. Earth, and I'm pretty sure it ain't Job's, but one of those two. I usually end up getting the Dr. Earth or the Job's organic, and that's the fertilizer, all-purpose garden, and it has a high phosphorus content. And then over here I redid this bed, and you can see the vine borer got to my squash over there. And then in this bed I planted some more squash seeds, summer squash and winter squash, which I need to weed it again because the weeds are already popping up. But I don't see any of those seeds that have come up. But we did eat a cantaloupe, and the cantaloupe, I just planted all the seeds from that one cantaloupe. I planted them here, here, and in one of my grow bags. and that's what came up. So we got a bunch there. I can thin those out, and I can thin those out, and those are all cantaloupe. And then in this bed, I did get some germination. So this is a mixture of gray zucchini and maybe some yellow squash and some winter squash in here. So there's several. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So there's 15 squash plants that come up in there. And there's one that's come up here. I don't know if that's a pumpkin or a squash. And then I planted over here, I planted those cream 40 peas. So I see some germination of peas in here, and there's still some coming up. I keep coming after it rains hard, kind of unearths my peas. But there is, I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, about 10 or so that's already come up in that tire. I also pulled up the spinach that was here and planted some in this little section, and there's some germinating in here. And then I pulled up the onions and processed the onions that were in this bed, and the ones in that little circle are bunching onions, but the ones that were planted here, I had some cabbages that were not going to make it through the summer. It was already too late for. And so I pulled up the onions, I processed, I cut them all up, and then I took the bottom, left the bottom, about an inch off the bottom, and cut that off, and I replanted them. So maybe they'll regrow again. I've had pretty good luck with onions regrowing, and then at least you get some of the white part in the green part, which I've been using my green onions like crazy and everything. So there are some of these cream 40 peas that have been coming up in here too. So that's that. And I cleaned out the corn that didn't do anything. I had really small, sparse ears, and I just fed those to the chickens. So I need to clean out this entire bed and see what I'm going to do with it. If nothing else, fertilize it with chicken house manure and cover it up. And then right here I have a Mad Hatter pepper that came back from last year over winter. And then here I've got some peppers that are doing real good. And then this is the last of my carrots, and I have just finished pulling out my other bed of carrots, and I have canned carrots and canned carrots until I can't can carrots anymore. I don't even need to start any carrots in the fall. But here is one of my tomato plants. He's got some tomatoes on him, and there's 2 of them, or 3 of them right here, and 2 of them are doing pretty good. So they're looking pretty healthy. This row did not do as good as it did last year and the year before. And these are all volunteer marigolds. And then here I got some midnight snack and a Brad's Atomic Grape. And then in this bed here, I've just got my peppers, and then I planted winter squash seeds in here too, and spaghetti squash. So I see one that come up right there, and then there's one trying to come up right there, and then I see a couple that are trying to come up. There is one right there, and there's some trying to come up back there too, so that's pretty good. So I'm pretty sure that in July, when I abandon the garden to do its own thing for the most part, that these winter squash are going to take over. I'm still getting a few blackberries on my blackberry bush. They're, kind of sparse, but there are a few. And then right here is is the cream 40 and the the purple whole peas and the zipper cream peas that we planted. And look how thick they are. I gotta go through here and weed again, but they're looking pretty good. Pretty good germination after we planted it twice. And then right here is my tomato trellis with some more tomatoes. I've been picking these, and I've canned a few, like 6 pints of tomatoes so far. And I just did, last time I picked tomatoes, I just start picking them when they start to blush because I have an armyworm problem. And I just put a quart or a gallon of cut up tomatoes in the freezer to save till I get another gallon. Then I'll can some more. And then right here is our cream 40, or our zipper creams, and our purple hulls again, because we had planted some lima beans and some other stuff and some butter peas and stuff in this first area, and they didn't come up, so we went back and planted zipper creams. But the purple hulls, they came up real thick, and I probably poked some zipper creams in there too. But there was one squash seed that was in the middle of those seeds, and I just let it be because I didn't think it would come up, and it's come up and it's happy as can be. So we got some sort of squash or pumpkin growing in the middle of that too. And then over here we've got some volunteer sweet potatoes, and looks like my lima beans are coming up. My Christmas limas are coming up, and those are those ones that are already starting to climb. And then these right here, I believe these are Cherokee wax bush beans. So that's what we got going on in here. None of these squash seeds, winter squash seeds that I planted in here. Well, there's one right there. So he came up. And then this is my little half runner plant that came back from last year. He's got some beans on him already. And there's another squash plant. So there's a couple of squash plants that came up in here. But I'm not really worried now that I went and planted all the rest of them. So coming around, these are my tomatoes that I put in the pink bed, and they're doing pretty good. And over here I've got my cucumbers and some yellow wax beans, bush beans. My cucumbers, they're kind of curvy. I think these are those tasty greens or the spring burpless. And a lot of them have this weird pollination shape going to them. But so far my beans are starting to flower, but haven't got no beans out of these yet. And then in this bed right here, I've planted these are the yellow zucchini that I got from Starts. And I need to go ahead and put tinfoil on them to try and save them from the squash vine borer. I feel like I've seen this moth several times flying around, taunting me. And then I planted some more seeds in here for summer squash. But I definitely need to, now that it's rained, definitely need to come in here and weed this garden, which is what I'm going to be doing this morning, is weeding. But I don't see any of the seeds that I planted have come up as far as more summer squash in here. So I might transplant some stuff from other places if it comes up. And then my peppers are looking really good. These are the best looking bell peppers maybe I've ever had. And they're just growing. And these are all of these peppers are seeds that I keep saving from ones that I get from the store or the farmer's market, or stuff that I've been growing. Like I've been saving seeds. I found this Mad Hatter pepper at Lowe's one year, like probably 5 years ago or so. And I saved the seeds, and I've been planting it every year from my saved seeds. And we can pretty much grow peppers almost the entire year. So I'll just be picking these peppers off. They do really good even in December, all the way up until the frost. So we have a hard frost, and I'll just pick them up. I'll just be cutting them up, and I'll save the seeds, and then I'll just go dump them in some dirt, and they all come up. So more tomatoes back there. And I think these are like beefsteaks and Dr. Witchy's or Kellogg's breakfast. And then this hodgepodge looks like I might be finally, I got 4 okra plants in here, and it looks like I might be finally getting some little baby okras. And then there's also some kind of volunteer squash or pumpkin growing in here that I use a lot of composted dirt. And I have a lot of volunteer plants. So there ain't no telling what kind of pumpkin that is, but I do have 1, 2, 3, 4 okra in here. And these are my most mature okra. They're from a pack of starts that I found at my local feed store not too long ago. They were the only okra they had, was 1 pack, and I went ahead and snagged them because I knew I hadn't started any yet, just to try to get going. And then of course my peppers are looking so good. These are my poblano peppers, and it looks like I might have some Mad Hatter peppers in here now that they're going. I did have this whole bed was planted in poblanos, but I think pretty much all my seeds were mixed up because I just saved all my seeds in 1 bucket. As I'm processing the peppers, I just put the seeds aside and dry them and throw them all in a bucket, and then I just plant them because I know whatever comes up is going to be stuff that I like and that I eat. And that's where all my pepper plants came from, with the exception of a couple of cayenne peppers and some banana peppers that I had planted from seeds because I wanted to make sure that I got some of them. And then back here in this bed, so I pulled up all this mustard and beets and all that stuff. These little carrots were in here, and I'm just letting them grow, get some sun, because they were buried, so they didn't get any size to them. And then over here on this side, I cleaned out these 3 beds, and I put chicken manure on them from my chicken house, and then I just covered them with cardboard to put them to rest until I get ready to plant something in them. And it might be my fall crops, or it might be my brassicas, or I might plant another thing of corn right here in the near future. I've been thinking about that. So in these 2 tires, I've planted cucumber seeds, and one of them came up, and I think I see a second one in there, and none of them came up in here. So I just put some black velvet down and replanted in this tire. And I'll just let this guy go back to the other side of the yard before I start talking again. So this is where all my bed of carrots that I just processed, and I got a double stack in the canner of carrots from here. I've been doing carrots for 6 or 7 months. I've been canning carrots. I didn't know how good my carrot crop was going to do, so I planted a lot of carrots and celery from I just went and bought the big bags, the big organic carrots from the Walmart and places like that, and canned them. And then of course I have a bumper crop of carrots, and also I had a bumper crop of celery this year. So what I did, once I got done digging them up, I still got to go back and fertilize, but I just went and found a bunch of sweet potatoes that were growing, volunteers all throughout the garden that had put down roots last time I grew them, and I poked them in here. They're not looking good right now because they have transplant shock, but they will perk back up. And so that's what I did. I filled this up with sweet potatoes. I am going to fertilize and add more dirt in here, but I just wanted to get the process started. And in this bed right here, this is volunteer pumpkins, probably Cherokee tans, and then I did plant some spaghetti squash seed in there too, that I think at least 1 or 2 germinated. So I'm letting that just do its thing. And then in this bed, I got my onions, And I did weed it, and when I was weeding it, you know, with all these onions, it's really hard not to pull some up. So all the ones that I pulled up weeding, I just went ahead and processed with that other bed. And I got this situation in my newly planted seed bed. Get out of here. Shoo. Shoo. Nope. Come on. Get out of here. Shoo. Now she's gonna get in there and get in between the fence and get lost. These rogue chickens. Maybe she'll find a way to get back through right there. I tried to clear that out as much as possible. I don't know if she made it over there to the other side. Here she is. Is that, I don't know if that's her. Anyways. Hopefully she's out of the garden. I don't want her digging up my cucumbers and everything else. And here's my onions. And I've been pulling these up, and I did replant these too. Got some volunteer zinnias. And then we got some more. We're on the other side of the fence now, on the inside of the garden. And I was waiting for it to stop raining for a day or two to put some fish emulsion back on these beans to give them a little blooming bump. But so far that hadn't been the case, and that's the main reason why I went ahead, and I needed to pull those carrots anyways, but with this rain the tops had started rotting, so I knew that I had to get them out before the bottom started rotting. And I did have a few of them, just a few here and there that critters had been eating below ground, but I definitely, for the most part, they was still good. But it was definitely time to get them out because they were starting to lose their sweetness a little bit. But I don't know. I love to grow carrots, and they don't take up very much room, and they do great in the grow bags. I grew the best carrots I ever grew in those grow bags this year. But I just don't need to grow any this year. And it's fall, because I have so many that it'll be years before I eat all of them. But we'll see how it goes. Last night, whenever I made the broccoli and rice and cheese casserole, I had a little bit of carrots left over that didn't fit in my jars, and I just steamed them with the broccoli and threw them in. And I like to also throw them in, I can hide them in meatloaf and stuff like that, just to add some nutrients. So I'll be being very creative using up carrots this year, and they're really coming right out of the ground into the canner. So they're at their peak level of nutrition, but they are being canned. But I try to eat as many raw. Every time I do that, I try to eat some raw with some ranch, with some cucumbers. So this guy, he's finally moved on a little bit to the other side. And this is the same guy that's been doing her lawn for at least a year. And last year I had some pumpkins, some Cinderella pumpkins that were growing on her side, and he would mow around them, and he'd pick them and he'd hand them to me when I'd be out here. He'd like, "Here, you got some pumpkins over here," and he would pick them and hand them back over the fence to me. So That's really nice. And then of course these guys, they just keep falling down. The whole little jungle right here. I'll go ahead and pick this one because it's starting to blush. I think these are the white tomasols. I forgot that I even planted white ones until once my tomatoes and everything turned on the counter, and I had a couple white ones, which I got a bunch of free white tomasol seeds last year from Baker Creek. So more tomatoes, and then all my bush beans, my bush yellow beans are coming up. Got some more cranberry beans. Those aren't quite ready yet. Neither are those. And then I've got my tomatoes, they're starting to flower, that I just planted not too long ago. And my Aunt Ruby's German green, this might be the biggest tomato that I've got so far, and I hope it hangs on. It's the only one on this plant. There's a lot of little flowers trying to get started, but this plant don't get a lot of sun. So I got more of our little golden bush beans. Our ever-present garden helper, Trixie. She loves to be in the garden with me. That's her favorite thing ever. And when she sees me going out the door towards the garden, she's running towards the garden. She just loves it so much. And then we got a bunch of more tomato plants that we got to pull up and stake up after the storm last night. And then these lettuces are going to seed. So I'm gonna pull these up and give them to the chickens. Okay. That guy's taking forever to mow that grass right there. That lady don't have that big of a yard. So I just decided to come show y'all a different part of my garden that I've got growing over here. This is my little pinata rose. Supposed to have multiple different flowers on it. And I have got a few orange ones off of here. It's a new one that I planted this spring that I got from Sam's. And that grapevine right there is doing bigger, going bigger and better than it's ever grown before. It's been there for years. So it might put on some grapes this year. I don't see any baby grapes yet. The ones in my garden definitely have a bunch of baby grapes. So I don't know if it'll put on this year. But it's definitely put on more foliage and more growth than it ever has before. So right here I got my little grow bag garden, and in here I planted some summer squash and zucchini, and you can see I got one coming up. I'm super excited. And this area gets so much morning sun that I figured that this might be a good place. As you can see, I've got my grow bags of potatoes, and I staggered these plantings. This one right here is ready. That one's going to be next. Those two are kind of new. So I planted all kinds of zucchini, and I replanted some of my onions in here. I don't see any zucchini in that one, but I do see one. I see two. One right there, one right there, and one right there. So there's 3 zucchinis coming up in that one. And then over here, we got a Kit Kat. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, at least 4. That might be one. At least 4 summer squash that have come up in there. And then here is the cantaloupe, the other cantaloupe seeds that I dumped in there. And I definitely can thin these out and plant them in other spaces. So I might do that. And this is one of my peppers. I think this is the sweet bonnet, which was the no heat Scotch bonnet that I planted last year. It came back from the freeze. And this is some shiso, which is really peppery, basil-y type herb. So I'm just thinking about what I want to do with these cantaloupes, because I definitely need to thin them out, but where I planted the squash that didn't come up, I feel like it's just going to be too wet right there for zucchini. So I might pull out. I have several more grow bags, and I've got a 3-tier grow bag that I could put right here and try to grow a cantaloupe batch right here. So might do that. And I definitely want to gonna be digging up these potatoes soon. And there's my other little helper. Really, she's in everything. She's just always running around, happy, trying to find stuff to get into and lizards to chase. And that's Darla. She's a 3-year-old American Bulldog, and she's a mess. She is definitely the mess. She loves the cats. She loves all the animals. She loves chasing the chickens. And this is a Mad Hatter pepper. I had poblanos and Mad Hatter peppers, but y'all look at this bed. This is on my to-do list, to get in here and weed everything. I think I might just cut these celery back again to see if they'll come back and fall, or I might pull them out. I'm not sure, but I need to weed all this. I know I have at least 1 or 2 Mad Hatters, but I had some poblanos in here that did really well over the winter and fall, and even in the spring they were sheltered enough. But yeah, that's the bed that I need to clean out and put down some new chicken manure, and then cover up or plant something. This actually grew a sugar baby watermelon last year in this bed, so I think this would be a good bed. It grew great cabbages in this bed, so I think it would be a good bed to transplant some of those cantaloupes in. So that's what I'm thinking about doing too. Maybe transplanting these celery and then just leaving my pepper in there and staking it up some, and then planting cantaloupe around it. But so far I have not been successful at growing any cantaloupe at all whatsoever. But I average about one, or literally one watermelon a year. And my pineapple sage came back. And then right here I want to show you, I've got 2 of those Purple Rain tomatoes, and these Purple Rain tomatoes are so pitiful looking. They're little dwarf bush tomatoes, but they have been putting off some good tomatoes pretty consistently. So I gotta stake him back up. He fell over. But I've gotten, out of these 2 tomatoes here, I've probably gotten about 6 or 7 tomatoes so far from the season. So it sounds like that guy might be on the other side of the yard. So I'm gonna go back and look about my okra. Oh, no, is that him? She's got a whole nother lot on the other side of her house. And here's another rogue. She better be careful. This is one of my the red broilers that I got from I think I got them from Valley Farms, where I usually get all my regular broilers from. And I processed I got about 18 is what I ended up with this fall, and I processed all the roosters but one. I had mostly roosters, and then I had like 6 hens and the rest were roosters. And I processed all but 4 hens and 1 rooster to keep in my flock. And they lay, even their little pullet eggs are double yolkers, which is really common for these Ranger broilers. If you ever save some Pioneers or some Ranger broilers they always lay double yolker eggs. So they lay good eggs. They've been pretty good. But a hawk did attack my big red rooster, and he was really big. And hallelujah for the gift of silence. And he didn't make it. I think his heart got punctured. But once the hawk attacked him, he couldn't do nothing with him because he couldn't pick him up because he was too big. So here's where we just weeded these lettuce out that we're going to give to the chickens. And what we got here is we got some some watermelons. And there's a cantaloupe right there. And then those are watermelons. Watermelons. And then here's 2 more of those starts that I did. And last time I said they were a celebrity. But then I found the tag. And they're a Better Boy, I believe. What it said, I had Parks Whopper, I had 4 Parks Whopper, and then this one right here. If you can focus. Better Boy plus F1. So I just mixed these up and planted them in here, and those at that end are doing good. These in the middle are not doing that good. Now he's gonna weed eat. So there's some more cantaloupe, and then there's my okra that we planted. And then over here I got another okra. And then over here I've got 4 more of those Better Boy Plus and Whoppers, which I need to stake this up because they're doing pretty good. And then there's a cantaloupe, and then there is okra, and there's a bunch of okra right there. That one in the middle, he ain't never did good, so I'll probably just pull him out and put a sucker in there. And then that's probably maybe some cucumbers that's going right there. And then I have more watermelon that I had transplanted over to this side once I thinned out them other ones, and they seem to be doing good. And then my compost pile that I still haven't planted in this side, but when I do plant, I'm just going to dump a bunch of compost on top and plant. And then same, I haven't filled up this area right here either. So I got to stake up all these tomatoes that have fallen down on this bed and in that bed over there. And here is my Mad Hatters that are just filled. This is such a prolific little pepper. And it's basically, it's not hot pepper. It just has a pepper flavor, but it's not hot. And it produces more peppers. I mean, it just gets loaded with peppers. So you definitely get a lot more bang for your buck than you do on a traditional pepper plant, like a bell pepper. So that's why we grow those every year. And then I just had a couple of bush beans come up in this bed, and then my flowers. And I don't know what it is about this bed, but I don't know if it's the location or the soil, but these plants have never really seemed like they were very healthy right here. But the flowers did good that I planted on the sides. So that is that. That's what we got going on in the garden. I'll go ahead and end this video here. It's 55 minutes. And I'll go back and look and see if I can edit out some of this lawnmower noise. But I just wanted to show you something I looked at over here. He's gonna fly away. Oh, look at this. It's pretty. An evening sunflower. And it's got all kinds of other sunflowers. I'm gonna have to stake this up because it's gonna get too heavy. It's gonna fall over, which is a problem I've been having. There's a sunflower there. It hasn't bloomed. I got that one back there, the yellow one. Look at this orange butterfly. He kind of matches those marigolds. Really pretty. Alright, well that's what's going on with the garden today. And I'm going to wrap it up there. And I'll talk to you guys soon.